This is my neighborhood that I grew up in. That little loop around there, that's, I live on Linwood Drive, which is this way. Fairview goes that way. And ours is the house kind of at the top of the curve over on the right-hand side. You look at it, you can see there's quite a big backyard, and so kids love coming over to our house. And right in the corner of that backyard, that tree that sticks way up into the parking lot, that's the tree I told you about that we used to climb. As you go on around the corner over here, this brownish house, that's Julie's house. As I delivered my paper route, which were these streets and the next one over, I'd cut through her backyard to get over to Southridge and deliver over there. And that kind of grayish house up in the corner, that's the home of Jed and James and Brian. And all of us, along with my other friends, used to go along this little irrigation ditch, this creek, and we'd have all kinds of fun in there. We'd wade through the waters. We'd catch crawdads. Sometimes there was a lot of water, and there was more swimming than wading. My mama didn't like it when we were in the waters during those times. And other times it was just a bit of water. The thing that was harder is, see, I could go down the creek there and get to Jed and James' house, or I could go this way to go to my school. But sometimes when I'd go to these different places, I couldn't find people. And sometimes I had to wade in the water without them. Oh, wait. Waiting, not waiting. Oh, I don't wait very well. I'd rather wade without. Can I stay with wading without? Because that's much simpler, isn't it? How many don't want to wait, especially without? You know, when I wait, I have my phone or my tablet or my book or my stuff or something to do, but oftentimes we have to wait without a lot of other things. Boney M sings a song where they say, "By the rivers of Babylon, where I lay down and I wept, when I remembered Zion," which is a psalm, I think it's 137, come to music. And it's about how they were carried away from everything they knew. They were without all that stuff. They were without Zion, that home they'd left. They were without everything that it meant. And they were sitting beside the rivers of Babylon, waiting and waiting in that space that they didn't want to be in. How many of you have had to sit beside the rivers of Babylon at some point or another in your life, struggling without your Zion, without whatever it was that you wanted to have but didn't have in that moment? So often when we get there, those challenging moments, we try to push them away with all the resources we have, with our strength and our money and our wealth and health and power and all those other things that we rely on so easily, but none of them protect us perfectly in the time of without. Michael Phelps, you might have heard of him, has been pretty successful. More gold medals than anyone. This week in Houston, Texas, he sat at the Kennedy Forum on mental health, and he spoke about the depression that he had, that he's had for years, that he struggled with, especially after all those times of huge winning and in those months afterwards, trying to figure out what now, how now. Lady Gaga has had an amazingly successful year. She sung at the last 2 Super Bowls. And she made a movie this year called Gaga, 5 Feet 2. Very successful, very rich. And in the middle of that movie, she spoke and she said, "It's a sad day I can't help but realize that when I sold 10 million records, I lost Matt. I sell 30 more, I lose Luke. I get the movie, I lose Taylor. This is the third time I've had my heart broken like this. I'm alone every night. And all these people will leave and all be alone. And I go from everyone touching me all day and talking at me all day to total silence. And the fury in all this is that I'm strong and I can still be me. And when I feel the adrenaline in my music and my fans, I can go. But it doesn't mean I'm not in pain. All the money, success, stuff, all the resources that we like to rely on, and we should rely on, sometimes aren't enough, are they? That sometimes we find ourselves in that space of alone. When community seems to have been lost, when friends seem to have fled, and we are in that space of without. Barbara Brown Taylor is a favorite author of mine. You heard her words in the Call to Awareness that said, I had done everything I knew to draw near to the heart of God, only to find myself out of gas on a lonely road. Those words come from this book called Learning to Walk in the Dark. If you haven't read it, you ought to. It's an amazing book. And she is one of the most honored preachers as well as writers in Christianity. She's done amazing work. And yet she found herself in the dark, saying, what now? Despite all the best effort, all my best efforts, the lights have gone off in my life. And this book chronicles her struggles to recover, to rediscover, to emerge from that space. And the hard part is that often in those spaces, our strengths become our weaknesses. So as she found herself slipping there, she went right to, where is God in all this? And she said, in the Call to Awareness you might have heard, she said that to suppose I'd ended up in a space by the grace of God required a significant leap of faith. Did God want her there? Did God bring her there? So there she struggled. How do I move through this time of without? And the real problem, she says, has far less to do with what is out there than it does with our resistance to finding out what's really out there. Because if you're in that space of without, you know what you're trying to do is make it seem like whatever space you just got taken out of. You want to go back to wherever it was that you had with whatever it is that used to be the things that you relied on, but the darkness, the without times carry us differently. Mirabelle Starr said, the emptiness of the dark night is a yielding emptiness that gives way to the fullness of possibilities. Don't turn away from the silence. How many try to turn away from the silence often? From the darkness, from the struggles, from the without? But Barbara Brown Taylor tells us, I've learned things in the dark that I could never learn in the light. Things that saved my life over and over again. So there is only one logical conclusion. I need darkness as much as I need light. Michael Phelps put it this way, it's okay to not be okay. So Barbara Brown Taylor says, how much more is in store for me if I could learn to walk in the dark? So I told you that I practice walking in the dark. I think I've told some of you. I do that because for some reason, for whatever reason, I think I'm going to go blind someday. So at night, I practice walking without turning on lights. I've gotten pretty good at it. Sometimes I practice by snatching a little bit of light here and a little bit of light and trying to put it together and trying to make sense out of it. And sometimes I just close my eyes. And I try to see, can I feel that which I'm walking through? And I discover that I can do it much better than what I think I can. For me, it's a spiritual practice to try to figure out how to walk in that space of darkness. And when I tell that story, people often say, oh no, don't talk about going blind, don't talk about it. But it's a good space. It's a spiritual space to walk in that darkness. Because in that darkness, we discover things that we cannot discover in the light. Barbara Brown Taylor says we should become more curious about our own darkness. Because there, in that space of darkness, we discover that grounding underneath it all. Our psalm reading had to do with that. For God alone I wait. I'm trying to find something more than just the transitory, whatever it is that goes around me. I'm trying to find that which is more solid. Martin Luther King said, only in the darkness can you see the stars. And we're trying to discover things that can only be discovered there. But my times of darkness, my times of difficulty, sometimes don't make sense to you. But you return the favor because sometimes your times of darkness don't make sense to me. And so we easily go into spaces that are not as healthy in those moments. This week, I was running along the Tanque Verde, where I often run over by my house. I was coming up the Sabino Canyon Road, and I could tell it was different than usual. Because usually when I get up to Sabino Canyon Road, those cars are just zipping by. One direction or another. They're just going in. This time they weren't. There was something going on up there. And I got to say, it's kind of a runner's dream. They're all stopped, all these cars, and I got to run past them. I ran like an extra half mile up the road just to pass more cars. And I'm really kind of looking at them going to see how fast I am compared to you. But don't you do that on a regular basis too? Don't you love to be the fastest one in a land of a whole bunch of turtles? Or the strongest one in a place where everyone has weakness? Because you see, we often compare our strength to someone else's weakness and think, oh, I'm doing great. But if I was in a race against a car, I would not bet on me. And we like to be stronger or faster or prettier or whatever it is. We like to be on that better side of things. And I can do that if I judge my strength against your weakness. But more importantly is, can I be in a spiritual space when that's not true? Here's what we do even worse. In that space where I feel strong, I often go to you and I start trying to, guess what? Tell you what to do. Tell you how to fix yourself. But if I got somebody in that traffic jam on Tanque Verde, on Sabino Canyon, if I got them out of their car so they could come run with me, I really wouldn't fix it for them. Because they need to get their car home as well. And they might have fun running with me, but it may not get them at all to where they need to go. You see, they have to go in a way that is different than the path I'm in. And we try to fix each other on a regular basis with answers. Saying, here's what to do to fix this thing. When what that other person needs most of all is a companion for the journey. See, they have to wait in that space without answers. Which means that if we really want to be with them, we have to wait in that space without expectations. Without our expertise. Without all those things that we want to give to them so we can fix them. And in those spaces, all that training, all that expertise, all that competence, all that which I carry inside of me isn't what fixes it. Even as much as it cries out in opposition to this moment, it says, use all of this, fix this. What that person needs is me, not all of that stuff. The spiritual path calls something different to us in that moment. To just be present for each other. To just be in that moment so they know that there's nothing, that they're not alone. That in spite of whatever it is they don't see, they sense you. They sense me. And it's not a passive waiting. It's a very active, I'm here with you waiting. I'm here and I will never, ever leave you. Do you know how great a promise that is? Have you had someone make that statement of life to you? Lady Gaga has a brand new song off this latest album called Angel Down. And she sings it this way. Shots were fired on the street by the church where we used to meet. Angel down, angel down. Why do people just stand around? I'm a believer as a trial, foolish and weaker. I'd rather save an angel down. Oh, I'm a believer, it's chaos. Where are our leaders? I'd rather save an angel down. Do we have the courage in those moments to be with that angel down and to understand them as the angel they are, not as I can fix them, not as I can change them, I can do whatever. Do we understand that one of the most important gifts they discover is the strength inside of them? You know why we do service? It's not to fix problems. It's to be with people in the midst of problems. And we may bring these resources and we may give them something amazing and wonderful, but the most important thing that we say to someone who is in that space of loss is that they are not alone. That we choose to be in that space of without with them. Susan Gehring at the immigration conference I went to called it intersectionality. That we remember the connections between us and that we are stronger together than what we would ever be by ourselves. And that we on a regular basis remind each other that we are connected and we choose each other. The problem is that fixing thing. Down in Yuma, when I was doing a lot of work with homeless people, the first thing people tried to do was say, let me fix it. Let me give you a house. Let me give you this stuff. Let me do all this stuff for you. But I've learned there's two things about homelessness. If you want to help someone get off the street, they first of all have to have a place to go. But second of all, they have to leave that street behind. I can give them the first, right? I can put a house or an apartment or something. I can put a key in their hand. But they have to do the work of moving from wherever they were to wherever they're going. My good friend Robin, who has been here with us, who followed me from Yuma, she's been given a home several times and has always found that there's something she still needs on the street. And she needs to be able to do that. I can't make her go in the direction that I think is right. She needs to be able to go where she feels led to go. Can I go with her? Can I be with her, even if she doesn't go where I want her to go? Barbara Brown Taylor says this: do I want the kind of light that shines on things, or the light kind that shines from them? You see, if I just shine light on Robin or anybody else, I may help them for a moment, but I haven't helped them to discover the truth inside of themselves. Because that's work they have to do. And all I can do is be with them as they struggle to try to find that light again. Because if they're in a place of darkness, they're having to take little scattered bits of light. And it may not feel like darkness to me because I may be in a space where I see lots of light. But if I can be with them so they can discover what it is that is true for them in this moment, if I can just be with them, what a gift I give. Who around you is struggling to find light? Who around you is in a space of without? Who around you just needs someone to sit with them? Chester Bennington grew up in the Phoenix area, became the leader of a big rock band called Linkin Park. And he wrote this song this year called One More Light. And it says, if they say, they say, who cares if one more light goes out? And a star in the sky of a million stars, it flickers, it flickers. Who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do. Do you? Amen.